You can now subscribe and save 20% off every single time you get that rich, tasty, CBD-infused coffee sent straight to your door. That's right. You go on to StravaCraftCoffee.com. You choose whether you want it delivered every 2, 3, 4, 6, or 8 weeks, and you'll get 20% off guaranteed, and you'll never have to worry about running out of coffee like I did this morning, tragically. You will just have it ready for you because you know that you go through a bag every 2 weeks, or maybe you go through a couple bags every 2 weeks, so you got 2 bags coming every 2 weeks. StravaCraft Coffee subscription will save you time, and it will save you money. So get in on that. Get you some rich, tasty CBD-infused coffee, or you can just try it once and use that code DNVR20 to get 20% off your first order, and then you'll be like, yeah, this stuff's amazing, and you'll subscribe and get it sent to your door every couple weeks. So check out Strava Craft Coffee and save 20% off every dang time.
Number one for the one and only DNVR. Two goes out to Zach, Mace, RK, and the bar. 3 for Mr. B in that old trophy case. Number 4 we're still waiting for. Well, bring on Chase. Out on the field, a mile high, Broncos win is our desire. Couple with a breakfast crew and a friend, bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us at the DNVR. We are DNVR.
It's a great way to start off a Monday with that song, and just sets the mood correctly. Welcome into the DNVR Broncos Podcast, presented by MSU Denver Online. Check them out, msudenver.edu/online, to see all they have to offer. 40-plus online and hybrid programs, 750 total classes. Just something for everyone over there at MSU Denver. And MSU Denver students work more hours than students at any other institution. So if you're looking to keep that full-time job and keep paying those bills while earning a degree that'll help you get to a place where you can earn some more money, MSU Denver is the perfect place. So check them out, msudenver.edu/online. And people are already coming in saying good morning. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning, my boy, Ryan. Good to be with you. Awesome seeing people check in around the world. We got Frank chiming in from Mexico City. Man, it's crazy that it's week 17 right now, Ryan. We only have one more game to cover of this season.
It has flown by at an alarming rate, and yet each game has felt like it lasted 1 to 2 eternities. It's just 2020 for you. You know, you got the quarterback struggling. You've got a receiver who's open on every play and never catches the ball. It's just really, really something special. It is the perfect concoction to turn Broncos Twitter into a toxic wasteland after every game. But here is not a toxic wasteland. And we can have conversations about Drew Lock, very real conversations, without, throwing mud at each other most of the time. And you said something before the show that actually I just got done talking to James Palmer of NFL Network about, talking with him about it. And you guys both said something very similar. So that made the, headline topic of this show very simple. You both talked about, you used the word identity crisis, and I think it is the perfect word to encapsulate what Drew Lock is going through. When Drew Lock was at the Senior Bowl, when we first met him, he's got the swagger, he's got the arm, he's got the sidearm stuff. In the Senior Bowl, he throws like an underhand sidearm pass going one way, back the other way to the tight end, and he loves to call himself a gunslinger. And it's weird because it's the one thing that everyone hates about him this year, but he doesn't want to let that go. I think it's, I think that's just the way he's been his whole life. And he definitely likes the term gunslinger. He wants to be called a gunslinger, but as James pointed out, and it's not a secret to anyone, he's not good when he does that. It is, you'll be hard pressed to find many plays on the Drew Lock NFL highlight tape where you're saying, man, he was completely off script and absolutely created a play out of thin air when nothing else was there. In fact, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. There's a scramble and throw on the run like you had to Noah Fant late in the game yesterday. Great play, but that's not really like an improviser gunslinger type of play. When I think Drew Lock being a gunslinger, I'm seeing the interception in the snow in Kansas City last year where he just kind of threw it up off his back foot. I'm seeing the interception in the first quarter yesterday where he's, trying to make something out of nothing. The best version of Drew Lock is not gunslinger Drew Lock. And I think that leads to, Zach, what you're talking about, where he's having a bit of an identity crisis.
He is, Ryan, and I think we're seeing the identity crisis now because he talked about this after the Kansas City game when he played pretty well after having that pick and kind of took the not the opposite of a gunslinger approach the rest of the game, and it kept the Broncos in it against obviously a very good Kansas City Chiefs game. Well, then he does that again after the Carolina game, and when it works to perfection. So he's saying, okay, this is working. We're 1-1 in these past 2 games. Our only loss coming to the defending Super Bowl champ on the road. This opposite of gunslinger thing may work, taking the check down. But then, Ryan, when you have 3 straight losses in a row and you have really bad, tough games in that stretch, you get blown out by the Bills, you lose to the Chargers yesterday, then it's not as easy to swallow that pill of, okay, being this check down Charlie's great. And yesterday after the game, man, I really saw this identity crisis in one quote. And it's kind of a long one, but I think it's important that we see the whole thing. So here's what he said. He said, it's all about consistency at this position and at this level, so to say. I have to find a good balance of being level, but quite honestly, I'm going to try to be hot all the time. There's the gunslinger coming in. I understand what I can do with the football. I'm starting to see the speed, these defenses, and know this offense well enough to be able to go out and really feel confident going in there to be able to make the throws I need, see the defense, and put the ball where it needs to go. It's something I feel a lot better than I did at the beginning of the season, which is how many reps we've gotten this year in games, but it's about me finding the steady tempo of a game. I think sometimes because I am the big play guy and put it downfield, that when I do check it down here and there, it kind of comes off as me being cold. You're used to me taking deep shots and going down the field to where, myself included, I need to be okay with just getting it down and extending drives. I mean, Ryan, in that quote, I'm seeing he understands that consistency and not going for the big play every time is good. And then he goes gunslinger route. He says, but I'm going to always try to be hot, and then just up and down again. And then he ends off with, but I understand I need to, take the checkdowns.
The most worrisome thing to me there is that he said taking checkdowns comes off as him being cold. No one is saying that, so that's all in his head, and that concerns me. That he thinks like, okay, if I want to be Aaron Rodgers, like I can't take checkdowns. Like Aaron Rodgers takes great checkdowns all the time. A quarterback should love having to do very little work to rack up yards. And in a good offense, you'll see, Aaron Rodgers, I think, is the perfect example. You'll see them going downfield. And so then everyone's backing up off the snap. Running back leaks out. He flips it over to him, 11 yards. And that, to me, is something that a quarterback should cherish. So I hate the fact that Drew Lock thinks that taking checkdowns means he's cold. Listen, Drew, if the ball is going into the receiver's hands, we think you're hot. We don't care where it hits, where on the field it got to him. We just want to see that ball going to who it's supposed to and them actually catching it. So you do have to push the ball downfield eventually. You can't just take checkdowns all the time. But I don't want Drew thinking that there's a perception or someone out there thinks that he's not doing well if he's checking the ball down. I can't say it clearly enough. If the pass is being complete, we like it, no matter what. And so that's concerning to me. And I mean, the term identity crisis couldn't be more obvious than when you listen to that quote. He's going back and forth. I think he's having a really hard time shaking what he's always wanted to be. If you look up to Brett Favre when you're growing up, or heck, even John Elway had some gunslinger in him, a lot of gunslinger in him. It might be really hard to just suddenly change that and be like, no, I need to be more like Drew Brees or Tom Brady. It's just different. And it's really important for Drew to let that go. I think this was interesting in the comment here. Ken said he can be a gunslinger all he wants, but forcing is totally different in my opinion. I couldn't disagree more. I think that's what a gunslinger is. Someone who thinks I can get it anywhere I want, anytime I want, and I'm just going to do it. And they think, look, if I throw 2 interceptions in a game, it's fine because I'm going to throw 4 touchdowns. Well, Drew doesn't do that. So, it's not the thing where I threw a pick trying to fit in that window. I'll just throw a 50-yard bomb on the next series and get it right back. You don't see that. And then he says something along the lines at the end of the quote of, you're used to seeing me throw it down the field. And I'm just thinking like, not really. I don't know if I am used to that. I'm used to seeing a lot of things with Drew Lock. Like big plays on vertical routes is not one of them. So it's odd. I do really think he is having a hard time grasping the fact that he might need to be different at the NFL level, and he is good enough to be that guy at the NFL level. And you can force the ball sometimes, but not right now. You're going to have to earn a little bit of leash to start, making those type of plays. You do have the arm talent for it, but he needs to earn his keep by being a game manager. No gunslinger in Week 17. Just be Drew Lock, the simple version.
Ryan, you know what happens to gunslingers in today's NFL? They get benched. You know who leads the league in interceptions along with Drew Lock? Now he's tied with him. A guy that hasn't played in many weeks, and that's Carson Wentz. Drew and Carson both have 15 interceptions. The Eagles just had someone else to turn to. Now, I really think that the Broncos set it up that way so that Drew could get those mistakes out of his way. But that's what happens when you're a gunslinger in today's NFL and you're averaging 1 interception per game like Drew is right now, or even more than 1 interception per game since he missed some games this season. That's what happens. And so he needs to realize that while John Elway had years to get those kinks out, and so did Brett Favre, in today's NFL, you just simply don't. The Broncos and any team's going to move on from you if you're having 15 interceptions. And we see that with Carson Wentz, who's getting paid so much money. Not even that can keep him on the field. And so you're absolutely right. What Vic Fangio wants to see more than anything is no turnovers. And on the defensive side, Vic wants to see takeaways. Those are his biggest 2 things that he's been preaching this past month. And Drew, when he's interception free, these past 2 games, he's had a fumble each game. What he needs to do is go out there on Sunday and just not turn the ball over. Now, I think in my mind, an interception is worse than a fumble because an interception, especially the one he had yesterday, that's all on him. Just throw the ball away. And Ryan, we've been seeing Drew make so many good decisions about tucking and running just to pick up 3 or, running to avoid pressure and then just tossing the ball out of bounds. We've seen him do a much better job of that over the past month, but it doesn't really matter. You don't get kudos for it if you do that 8 times in a game, but then a 9th time you throw a pick because, again, that's 1 per game. That's going to land you on the bench.
Yeah, 1 per game is too much. And he just, I don't know, he's got to shake this because it's not going to work for him to continuously talk about being a gunslinger. He's not. So he needs to work that out of his system. I do want to talk about the good, though, of Drew Lock yesterday. And the more that I've looked at the game, the more impressed I've been with his field vision yesterday. I think he saw the field the best he's maybe ever seen it. I thought he was seeing things really, really clearly out there. And it should have resulted in a 300-yard passing game. Obviously, we don't have to relitigate the Jerry Jeudy drops over and over again, but it's not a very big leap to say, okay, Jerry Jeudy catches even 3 of these. Drew Lock has a 300-yard passing game, and obviously the one in the end zone, well, now he's got a touchdown to go with it as well. He was seeing things really clearly yesterday. Even the Deshaun Hamilton throw, it was there. The problem is the degree of difficulty on the throw was so high that, he screwed it up. So I was really impressed by that, and I actually think you saw the identity crisis play itself out right there on that play, because he knew he was late on the throw. And I think the reason he was late on the throw is because he had that thought. Oh, you know what? All right, just take off and run. And then as it starts closing down and Chris Harris Jr. is there, he's thinking, you know what? Actually, no, let's go score. And he throws it. And it's just like, man, if you would have been more decisive at the very beginning of that kind of scramble and through that, Deshaun's there, he catches it, he maybe breaks a tackle and scores a touchdown. But I think because he's cycling through, it's having a negative impact on him to be thinking about what he should do versus what he wants to do. And these are things that can be learned in the off season, practicing doing what you should do and not just what you think you should do or what you want to do. But I was really impressed with his field vision yesterday. He got through his progressions and he got the ball to the open guy a lot. Unfortunately, the open guy a lot was Jerry Jeudy. And let's see, there's 15 targets. There was 6 catches. Is that right?
Yep.
5 drops as we counted it, although I guess PFF was saying 7. I'm sticking with 5. So that gets you to 11, and that means there's 4 where he just missed him. If you cut both of those things in half, Jerry Jeudy has the game of his life, and Drew Lock maybe has the game of his life in terms of passing yards.
It's really true. And then we're talking about those 2 clicking. And Ryan, yesterday was just a perfect example of Drew Lock and this identity crisis, because we know of the interception that he had in the end zone, which was absolutely a gunslinger moment. But then for the middle of the game, he did a fantastic job of taking what was there and not forcing things when they weren't there. He calmed down, just like he did against the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, this was nearly the exact same game. In fact, ending on an interception, which I don't think either of us hold against him at the end of this game and at the end of the Kansas City game. It was pretty much the exact same thing both games. But then, Ryan, what Drew Lock probably should have ended, like you said, with over 300 yards, probably could have easily ended with 2 touchdowns. Let's say Jerry Jeudy catches that late one. That could be a touchdown. And then also he was inches away from that Deshaun Hamilton one that Deshaun ended up catching and then Drew ran in. So if you want to give him credit for that, I understand that. So 2 touchdowns there. And then probably also another interception or 2. Now, I'm discounting the Mike Williams one. So I'm thinking 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 300 yards. That stat line is pretty gunslinger right there. He's slinging it around, making good plays, making bad plays. And just what happens if he eliminates the interceptions? That's where people see the ceiling for him. And that's what people point to. And we saw that against Carolina just a couple of weeks ago, where instead of the 2 interceptions, you add that to the touchdowns. And that's why people are so excited about the potential of Drew Lock.
Yeah. And it's really going to be up to Drew whether or not he can turn those things, whether or not he can let go of the idea that he wants to be a gunslinger. Because it sounds cool, but what does it get you? That those guys don't really exist. I guess you can say that, Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers are gunslingers. They're also, one of them is definitely a top 10 quarterback of all time. The other one only just needs more time to prove that he's a top 10 quarterback of all time. And so those are not the guys that you should be looking at and saying, I want to be like that when you're a rookie. In your first 2 seasons.
Right.
You got to earn, like I said, you got to earn the leash to be able to do that. And heck, if you have 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions in a game and it's a shootout, and you're making these throws and you take one, that maybe you shouldn't have and it gets tipped and intercepted, you're not going to get crushed for that. When you're throwing an interception every single game and you're not throwing touchdowns every single game, you don't have the leash to do that. So
And on top of that, Ryan, you have to know where the game is at. Is it 30-31 at the end of the third, where it is a high-scoring game, and you do have to do crazy things to keep up with Patrick Mahomes, who's on the other side, or something like that? Or is your defense balling out and keeping you in the game, just like it was yesterday? Then those 3 points, if let's say Drew Lock doesn't throw that interception in the end zone, and that interception, the Broncos don't even score a touchdown there, but you get 3 points there. I mean, we're talking about a 3-point game anyway, so obviously that's huge.
Yep, you can't do it in the red zone. And one of the things that James Palmer also said during our conversation is that people in Buffalo told him the biggest difference in Josh Allen this year was decision-making. They said, his completion percentage has gone up because he's not throwing wild throws, trying to fit balls into spaces that aren't there, that are getting knocked down. He's just taking the open stuff when it's there. He's taking off when it's not. Now, Drew Lock is not going to be the runner that Josh Allen is ever. But I think he can just learn, from the progression there. You can just take off. And you know what? Then you're not getting cold because you had an incompletion or anything like that. So, man, I hope that, in this offseason, Drew Lock understands that. I do think that the Broncos are going to tell us that he is the starter going into next season, or he is, I don't know if they're going to say he's the starter, but they'll use some sort of vague language that says, like, he'll be here, we might bring in some competition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I do think he's going to be the quarterback next year. It's going to be up to him to change his habits during this offseason and become who he can.
Ryan, 1 week from today, we'll be hearing from John Elway about all of this. I'm so pumped for that. But Ryan, one thing that makes me very interested, how is Drew Lock going to handle this Week 17 game? Because I think, being realistic with himself, he understands where he is. It's going to be really tough for him to grab the starting spot for next year in one game. But will he try? Will he try to go out there and throw 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, and do the complete opposite of what we're talking about him doing, is just managing the game, really, and taking the checkdowns? Or is he going to go out there and say, John, here's why I'm your starting quarterback next year, and try the huge game?
No. I think he knows that he can only do himself harm by trying to press in Week 17. Now, I don't know, maybe someone gets in his ear and says, hey, you really need to show out on Sunday if you want to be the starter next year. I really hope no one does, because I don't think that ends well for the Broncos. But think about this, Zach. The last time Drew Lock played the Raiders, it might have been the worst game of his career. So he can do a lot of good by just having a decent game on Sunday, just by showing, look, similar personnel. Obviously, they fell apart. But I took that game, I turned it into this game. I learned from the mistakes I made. I learned from the fact that they like to drop a defensive lineman in coverage once in a while, et cetera, et cetera. If he just goes out there and has a solid game, and I really mean 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, he'll do himself a lot more good than 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Yeah, and this would be the first time since Week 2, when he only played a quarter, or Week 1 when he played a full game, that he didn't have a turnover. So that right there would be showing progress. And what did we say, Ryan? I mean, once about a month ago is when we said, okay, it's going to be hard for Drew Lock to do anything now to completely solidify himself and sell the fan base and sell everyone in the Broncos organization that he is the guy. So what he needs to do is just take steps forward. And we've seen some steps forward. We've seen some steps back. We've seen him stay the same. And what he needs to end on is at least some encouraging note to show John Elway, or whoever is going to be in his corner next year or this offseason, that, okay, look, we're seeing progress. If we see another step back, then people who were with you, Ryan, yesterday and saw that he was, about even, they may convince themselves, okay, well, actually, Week 16, he took a little step back because of how big of a step back he took in Week 17. And that's not where Drew wants to be going into the offseason.
Yep. Some good news here from Steven. Our guy says, I just subscribed. Couldn't get the shirt I wanted, so I had to go with the Avalanche Kale McCarr shirt. LOL. Ladies and gentlemen, We got him.
We got him. Right on, Steven. Love to hear it.
Awesome stuff from Steven. Zach, last thing I want to say here. Some other good news. Jerry Jeudy didn't get on Twitter last night.
Very good.
No new tweets, no new replies, not even any new likes. I don't think he opened the app.
You know what? He's checking down right now. He's not trying to be a gunslinger on Twitter. He's realizing the safe play is just to take a step back and take the easy thing, which is just not doing anything.
Just don't tweet.
No.
just a safe bet there. You can't have bad tweets if you don't have any tweets. The opposite of how I'm more of a gunslinger when it comes to Twitter. It's gotten me in trouble before.
Well, this is like 1970s, This is the 1970s of the NFL when it comes to Twitter. This thing's still new. We can be doing that.
That's true. Yeah, I do as I say, not as I do, Jerry Jeudy. One other thing on Jerry. Whenever you watch, everything he's doing right now seems unconfident. I don't know how to describe it other than it kind of looks like he's playing on ice skates. Like, now he's putting other guys on ice skates, and so his routes are really crisp. Something about when he gets the ball, it looks like a guy who you found on the street, and you were just like, oh my God, this guy has the most incredible abilities. Like, I'm pretty sure we could put him into an NFL game this week, and he could play. And like the route running is just off the charts. As soon as he gets the ball, it's like he's never seen a football before. Like when he catches it, it's awkward. When he's running with it, it's awkward. There's one time where he was like hugging the ball. I don't know what's going on. I just think he's like off right now.
Yeah, he needs a season to end more than anyone else because we know he's a good football player. He doesn't need another game in week 17 to show us that he can play. We know he can, but he just needs to get away and totally clear his mind so that he isn't. Because, Ryan, I totally agree with you. He doesn't look like a first-round pick out there when he gets the ball in his hand. He looks like, this is his second year playing football.
It's really odd. I don't know how to describe it other than, like, without the ball, he's like the most crisp player on the field. As soon as he gets the ball, he looks like he's on ice skates trying to play football. It's unbelievably odd. But I think you're right. Just get away, take a mental break. Maybe not this week, but like starting next week, like don't even hit the jugs machine. Don't play catch for like 2 weeks, at least maybe a month. Go on vacation. Go see, the new house that you bought your mom. Whatever. Just stay away from football for a little bit. You're not gonna lose out on your off season if you take a month away from the game, and then come back and work harder than you've ever worked before. And we see all the route running videos. I want to see a video of just jugs machine all day, no routes. We've got the routes part down. Maybe Drew Lock is just throwing 100 passes a day to Jerry Jeudy. Until or every time they drop, they have to start over. They have to complete 100 in a row. Like that's the type of stuff I want to see. I know Jerry Jeudy has elite potential. There is not one. I'm not kidding, Zach. Not 1% of me thinks that Jerry Jeudy is a bust. Not 1%. It's just he's got to get it figured out mentally, and I don't think that's that difficult of a thing to do. He's very young. He's going through a lot. He's drinking from a fire hose when it comes to learning an NFL offense. He is pressing because he's trying to prove his doubters wrong. He's pressing because he ran his mouth on social media. He is, understanding the physicality of the NFL game. He's a rookie. He's a kid. He's never lost like this before. There's so much on his plate right now. And I really do think a fresh start, a clean slate, a new season, a season in which hopefully he doesn't have to be the number one option out there and he gets to go up against number two corners and put them on skates even worse. So I'm not worried about Jerry Jeudy at all in terms of him being a bust, but there are steps that have to be taken to just figure everything out.
And on top of all of that, Ryan, this has probably been the most draining physically and mentally year of his life. We hear it from rookies all the time. There's no question why there's a rookie wall in week 12. And it's not just because of the physical part of typically a college season is about 12 weeks and NFL
14
rookies.
if you go to Alabama.
Exactly. And they're not used to playing that long. But also, Ryan, there was no off season for him. You know, he played in January and in college, and then it was all about the combine. Then it was a combine, then it was a draft, and then it was, okay, how do I stay in shape and integrate in OTAs while I don't actually get to go to Denver right now? And then training camp hit. So this is something where he's been on the grind for 2 straight years. Just taking a step back is okay for him right now at the beginning of this offseason.
That's so true. You know, maybe that's more about the rookie wall. Not the amount of games you play, but the fact that the season never ends. Your season, you know, you finish your college season, you instantly go with some specialist trainer, trying to shave time off your 40, trying to, you know, do everything that you need to do to get ready for the combine. Then you go to the combine, then you come through. It's just like, mentally, he hasn't had a break, not just physically. Mentally, he hasn't had a break, and maybe that's why he's hitting a little bit of a mental wall right now. I think he might just be overwhelmed. These guys are human.
Yeah, exactly. And we saw that yesterday, that Jerry Jeudy is human.
Exactly. All right, well, we are human, and I guess that's a good thing. We are also going to wrap up this segment. If you're watching on YouTube, hit us with a thumbs up. We will finish the podcast on the podcast side of things. If you want to listen to that, you can find us anywhere that you download podcasts. We get to all of the questions from our subscribers, just like our new friend who just joined. So Steven is his name. So head over there, listen to the podcast. But if you want to see us live, we will be back live on Wednesday morning. So we'll see you then.